Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch that dial. We have a celebrity here. Hey, when I say we got a celebrity, we got a celebrity, okay? And all my guests are celebrities, but he's been around a lot of corners. He's been on TV, has a regular radio talk show host, and so I'm going to introduce him like they do in Madison Square Garden. In this corner, weighing 100 and Don Giordano.
Well, thank you, Hank, very much. I like how you kept it. I like how you kept it under 200 pounds because I'm working on that. It's about 198 right now, just for the record. Yeah, fighting weights.
Okay, Don Giordano. All right, you're a radio talk host, WPNHT, right? Big talker, 12:10 a.m. I listen to that show. I know you, Mike.
Smirkanish, absolutely.
Right? And very popular show, and I've seen you on TV, CNN, and all. So, so what I want to know is what I know about you, but people out there, okay? Tell me something about yourself.
Well,
you're Italian,
yeah,
right?
I'm Italian first. We can start with that.
Absolutely.
South Philly. South Philly Italian.
South Philly.
Abruzzese.
Well, I'm Sicilian.
All right, but there's a mixture. There's a mixture. There's a
Right.
mixture in there. So I grew up, I think, in the greatest place in the world to grow up, South Philly, early 60s. And, you know, there's no place like South Philly for characters. I mean,
Right.
guys like Joey Vento and guys like this, you don't find them in Phoenix. Guys like Hank Cisco,
Well,
Frank Rizzo, you're not finding guys like that in
my
Phoenix
man.
or Miami, the Sun Belt. Only places like Philadelphia have these people that are characters. And that was my life, Hank. That's what I grew up with. My father was a cop who worked directly with Frank Rizzo for a number of years on a vice squad undercover when he was at 55th and Pine.
Police commissioner, or I guess?
He was an inspector at that point.
Oh, okay.
This was the Lillian Reese era, you know, the Locust Street bust and all that stuff. Where are you going to find characters
Coffee houses
like,
used to raid.
like Lillian Reese, Frank Rizzo, and all these other guys? I mean, it was a time of just a great time to grow up as a kid.
So how did you get into radio? I mean, you also write a column.
Right.
And your column appeared in Norristown Times Herald for a while. There,
Exactly.
okay?
We want to
And
get
I
it
wanna
back
see
there.
Come back.
All right, Stan Husky, if you're listening, we got to get it back.
Stan Husky and the Times Herald. I want my man, Italian writer, write a column, Times Herald, and also the Montgomery Publishing. You got 15 newspapers all over the county. Okay.
Hank, thank you. It was worth the visit here. I'll get back with it.
Tell you about making greens and beans, baccalaureate, lasagna. You know.
Man of God, yeah, I got the recipe for that. I was a teacher, Hank, and I got discovered.
Tell me about it. You were at school. I said the principal
I taught,
today.
Yeah, one of the things I taught English, but I taught classes like where we are right here now at Norristown High School. I taught electronic media, TV shows, radio. It was in South Jersey. And as a result of that, I did such unusual things. I got discovered by TV. They put me on. Tug McGraw, God rest Tug McGraw's soul, he put me on. And one thing led to another. Talk radio heard about me. They liked me as a guest. This was at 96.5, the talk station then, the other biggie in town. And one thing led to another. They gave me a weekend show. Then I did overnights for about 8 years, from 1 to 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And you think those hours, there's not a lot of people out there. There were over 100,000 people. Well, you worked last hour.
I used to work around the clock as a policeman. And I'll tell you, come 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, boy, your eyes start getting heavy.
Exactly, particularly when you worked and when my dad worked. Listeners may not, viewers might not know, you worked 8 to 4 one week, then you worked 4 to 12, which was the worst.
4 to 12.
And then last out 12 to 8, and that's why they were cracking up cars and stuff like that. It was brutal to be a cop and have to work that schedule. Did that for a while. They put me in morning drive. Then I came over to the Big Talker 7 years ago, doing 3 to 5, then 6 to 9, and now I'm on 9 to midnight. At
9 to midnight.
9 to midnight.
Okay.
At 12:10 a.m.
Okay. Like people call in, right?
Oh yeah, it's a call in, and we get the biggest guests in the world. I just taped an interview with Vincente Fox today, who's invited me. You're
That's
the first
guy, the president of Mexico.
Yeah, you're the first guy I'm telling this to. We're going to say it on my show tonight.
When's it going to be? Tonight?
It's tonight, but he invited me to his ranch to do a broadcast from there so I could see the other side of this. Now, I happen to think...
You're going to do the Mexican hat dance?
Yeah. I happen to think that the legal immigration and the stuff he said is kind of bogus, but the guy couldn't have been more open to me.
I saw him being interviewed by
Larry
O'Reilly.
King. O'Reilly last night. Yes.
Last night for a whole half hour.
Exactly.
So pretty sharp. I mean,
he was.
Seemed like down
to
to earth.
He puts his wife on the phone. I'm thinking a guy like you. He loved it. Marty gets on the phone with me. We're talking about the arrangements and all. So
Are you going to go to Mexico?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm going to drink some tequila with him. He said, "Do you ride horses?" I said, "Hey, for the president of Mexico, I'll ride. I'm from South Philly. Put it in front of me and I'll ride." And you know, Hank, what the radio station's doing, it's great. It's such a powerhouse, and I'm getting the opportunity to get up close and personal with some of these biggest guests. David Petraeus recently, the general who's in charge of our forces in Iraq. I got invited to jog with him. So I jogged with the general, who jogs 6 miles every day.
No kidding.
I told him, hey, I'm not doing 6. I did 3.
You jog in the morning, 6?
Yeah, no, I don't do 6. I did 3. I did it under 25 minutes.
I dream.
The general, Hank, actually talks at normal speed while he's jogging 6 miles.
No
now,
kidding.
It was pretty hard to keep up with this. This guy's really intense. Invited me back to the house. We chatted for over an hour. He's the best and the brightest. Thank God this guy's
Smart
commanding
guy. I
our
understand
forces.
he's a brilliant guy.
Brilliant guy, intense guy, but down to earth. And this was just after the hearings in which he was savaged by some in the Senate. So he was pretty honest about how difficult that was.
Yeah. Well, as a school teacher,
Yeah.
tell me, the things different, you as a school teacher, I talked to our principal here today. I said I was going to interview you. And so I say, are things different today than they were when you were a teacher? What are some of the things that...
Yeah, I think that when I was ending up teaching, which was late 80s, early 90s, a lot of the trends, a lot of the things that we're seeing today were going on, but nothing to the level that we see with like lockdowns in schools that you read and hear about. This wasn't heard of then.
Yeah.
Intruders, lockdowns in the area,
Yeah.
lawyers,
Yeah.
all kinds of wild and crazy cases. My chaplains pray every night for guys like the principal and others here who have to deal with all these societal things that show up in the schools. The other new thing that's going on is with the internet and technology, they're much more technology based. So teachers and others really have had to relearn a lot of the things they were doing before. That's the other big change.
Big change.
But I think kids are still kids, and I still think you have by and large kids that want to learn, want to do the right things, and then you have a small minority who don't.
Yeah, but the discipline
Yeah.
in the schools. It's a change, you think, or what?
Well,
You
from
think the
from the
teachers were-
time when you look at some of these things, what were the things in the 50s and 60s? Teacher complained about a kid shooting a spitball, and now you see today what do they complain about? A kid bringing a gun to school.
Right.
So there have been in many schools an incremental rise
Right.
in the intensity, Hank, of some of these things. But by and large, I still think that kids are kids. They're under a lot more pressures today, maybe, than previous years.
Right.
But there's still a lot of good kids out there.
Way back,
Yeah.
years ago. Even Shakespeare talked about the youth of today are uncontrollable. Well, we're never. Yeah,
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
We had all
I
problems.
think kids are still kids.
So years ago, well, I remember one time I went to a conference, a police conference, and the guy says, "Oh, he says in our town, he says, boy, we have a problem. The kids are stealing hubcaps." The guy from South Philly, one of the cops, says, "Hey, come on, they steal the whole car."
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
Come on,
yeah. Come to Philadelphia, we'll show you what real crime is. Yeah,
come on. So, okay, now, you've been a very faithful friend of Frank Rizzo. I was a friend of his, and he helped me when I was the Norristown Police. He sent an inspector up and helped me set up a juvenile division. And when he died, I was one of his kitchen cabinet. We used to meet there. And when he died, I was one of his pallbearers. And then so I kind of have a little memorial when on July the 16th. And you were there every time, and so was District Attorney Lynn Abraham.
The tough cookie, yes.
So talking to Frank and Joe, and they says, he says, we have all these people say nice things about Frank on the day he died. Why don't we do it on his birthday, October the 23rd, okay?
Yep.
So October the 23rd, you're going to MC at the statue. And Lynn Abraham said she's going to come, right? And also, I met Dennis O'Brien, Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House.
He wants to
guy.
be there.
Absolutely.
Right. And then Joe Rizzo and Commissioner O'Neill and a lot of friends.
And the theme this year, too, is celebration of his life and legacy. And as you and I talked about, Lynn Abraham's part of his legacy, Joan Krajewski, of course, his son, that Frank Rizzo and the things that he does live on through Michael Smerconish, myself. I mean, this is the guy. This is the guy that was a mentor to so many people.
It's good. So, all right, now tell me something about a young student here. I see they dressed up for you,
Yeah, I heard about that.
Tuxedos,
later on in the show, we're going to
Where
see what they're doing, yes.
We'll flash it on
They
the
heard there was
screen.
a big mouth talk radio host coming. That's right.
But we have these students now, and they're going to go into a career of, so a little bit of info or something maybe, or a cup of tip.
Oh, going into the field of communications.
If they're going to communications, so it's something that they should prepare themselves
I'll tell them,
for.
don't do it. It's a hard, no. We don't want any competition, Hank.
Don't.
I'd say the key thing that you have to do with something like this is you got to get your foot in the door. It's not like another field that there's a clear path to doing what you really want to do in it. A lot of people start out as interns of one sort or another, meaning gophers, you don't get paid, whatever. But once you get inside, there's often jobs then that you can grab onto and move up the chain and the ladder. And I've had people in talk radio that I knew 15, 20 years ago, started out as an intern or a producer or whatever, end up being an executive producer, end up being on air, end up being a program director, general manager, whatever. That's the way that this works.
In other words, get experience. Get as much experience.
Get your foot in the door. And sadly, the courses that you get many times at the college level or whatever are okay, but they're not real world. There's only one place to learn what actually goes on in talk radio or TV or whatever that I've seen, and that's actually by getting your foot in the door.
You have to get involved.
The good part is with regionalization, you just don't have to go to NBC, ABC, or whatever now. You can go to local outlets, Comcast in town and these others. A lot more avenues to get your foot in the door. But to get started, no matter how lowly the job is, to make yourself indispensable. And this is a job that's not really a job. I mean, I live this 24 hours a day because when I'm on the air 3 hours a day, I get to talk about all the things that I'm interested in. There's no script. There's nothing that goes on with it.
What, to keep yourself up, what the world events and whatever they may call in. They might call about making a pizza pie, you know, and they might call about the war, you know. How do you keep yourself informed? Talking to people,
you gotta
weaving, slipping and
sliding.
Yeah,
exactly. You know? Knowing people like you, networking with people all day long. There are thousands of people out there whose story's not getting told by the rest of the media. They don't like their story, doesn't fit their script. We in talk radio tell it. People tell me stuff all day long. I investigate, I bring it in, I do that. There's a constant network of people feeding stuff, Hank, that they'd like to hear more of. Then the other thing is we go after the biggest guest imaginable. You read 10 or 12 newspapers and stay on the internet 2 or 3 hours. So well, my wife, though, says, hey, you talk 2 hours a day, put out the garbage. You're not working that hard.
Yeah, keep bobbing and weaving.
Exactly.
But the old story, if you want to swim, you got to get in the water.
Exactly
you know?
right.
If you're going to stand there and say, well, I don't know if I can do it, get in there, swim.
No, get in there. And it may not be the job that you like or anything. You're around the media. Once you're around it, once you got your foot around that, you might also see, Hank, maybe you don't want to be in front of the camera. A lot of people are powerhouses that are behind the scenes. The executive producers of, say, the O'Reilly shows and whatever. These are, or Gelman, who's their executive producer, Regis and Kelly and Regis. These are powerhouses. They're the real gatekeepers. They're not as famous as the star, but they're the power behind the scenes. They get paid big bucks and they have a lot of power on that show, who gets on, how they get on, all those kinds of things.
In other words,
a lot of behind-the-scenes jobs.
Isn't the only thing. There's all.
No, I mean, if you want to be the anything, be the president of NBC, ABC, or whatever. Just remember me, so I can get a job.
Well, maybe you got a pretty good point there because I'm a former amateur professional boxer, you know, and the trainer and the manager, they didn't get hit. They didn't sweat.
There you
they
go.
didn't have to do no
Think of Don King. What the heck has Don King done? He's got 50 guys killing each other out there, and he's making money off both of them.
He couldn't even lick a postage stamp.
No, he doesn't. And Don King decides who fights and when they fight and all that type of stuff. He's got the power over TV and everything else that goes on.
Right. So in other words, the main thing, what you're doing as you're talking, it's coming through little by little. Get that education while you're in school.
And I'd say
then the opportunities are there.
Learn how to write well. Learn how to speak well. These are two things that if you can do those,
this
is the field of communications.
Hear what I said? Say it again.
You're being write well, speak well.
Good.
These are both things that are going to be very, very, and the third element of being in the media is to be a people person. You're one of the most extraordinary I've ever met. The ability to bond with people, talk with people, network with people. When I was talking with Vincente Fox today, he puts his wife on. It was the best thing I've ever done to sit there and talk with his wife. Of course I want to talk with Mrs. Fox. Sure.
Well, you know, that's great. And I've been doing this show for 17 years. And how did I get this show? You know, now it's a lot of elderly women stop me. Oh, Mr. Cisco, will you talk more about health? You know, tell more. I've had doctors, lawyers, you know. I mean, and so I try to, you know, this is something now we're talking about the youth of today. You know, it's so important to get that education. So the opportunities are there, you know.
And this isn't just, again, passing in school or doing whatever. It's actually being competent to do all that you can to be able to write well, to speak well, to present yourself well, and then to work with other people. And really the skill that's often not taught, how to network. There's a lot of people out there that want to give a kid a break. I know I work with a lot of interns and a lot of stuff, just like the break that I got. But you have to know how to approach people, and you got to be relentless in doing that so that you can get your opportunity to start.
Always remember, all sunshine makes deserts. You're going to have the good days, the bad days, the rain, the snow, and the
Right.
hail. If you want a beautiful garden, you have to have that kind of weather. If you
Right.
want all sunshine, you go to the Sahara Desert. Who lives there? Nobody. Nobody.
I'm going to use that one. I'm going to steal it from you, Hank.
Well, I don't care. You can use it. I'm steal your material.
Okay.
But you know, you are very knowledgeable, likable, and you're ready to. I said that I'd like to have you on. We're going to have a little, not a debate, or sort of a information thing with some of our commissioners. I'd like you to be part of it. So when the details are coming through, I'll be.
Oh, yeah, and this race out here is exciting, you know, because we don't have much of a mayor's race in Philadelphia. So we're focused on the county commissioner, Castor Matthews, and Joe Huffle, because all three have been on the station a lot. They're friends of it. There's a lot of issues that they come up with over the course of time.
We'll take that as soon as I'm. Now, John Doyle, here's a fellow that does a fantastic job. He's a teacher here. He's the one behind the camera here with these students. And we have a cultural theater, but they have shows here. The theater only holds 75 people, but it's packed. But where do you think most of the people come to see it? From Philadelphia. Okay, so now we have about Stan Husky, myself, Pat Mascara, and Janetta, and about 4 or 5 other guys. We're getting together, trying to build a theater in Norristown, a theater where we can maybe seat maybe 300, 350, you know what I mean? And that brings a different, what do they call it, clientele?
Oh, sure.
So, you know?
An energy. Well, you know the Blueprint you probably know over in Ambler in Montgomery County.
Yeah, there you are.
The theater there is doing all kinds of unusual, interesting things. Suddenly, tons of restaurants and different kinds of restaurants and other things blossom around it. That whole downtown is happening, and Norristown is an even a bigger downtown.
We are the county seat.
Exactly.
We got everything. We got the highways, we got the bus station, we got the trains, we got the 202, got 422. We got everything. Even got a bike path. You want to come in by bicycle, you know. And,
no, I think you're right, though. That's a thing that becomes the center
seat.
of a community, though. To have a theater, to have that kind of outspring, it brings a lot.
And now they're going to build a movie studio, big movies with 4 big studios, you know.
You know the film that should be done someday, the Frank Rizzo story. We've actually talked about that.
I told this guy here, I said, look, you're going to make a movie right here. Now, I understand Frank, he was in California maybe a couple of years back, but I was very successful. I went to the council meeting. They were going to call it Logan Square. I said, well, look, but it's Norristown.
Exactly.
So they call it Norristown. But Frank Rizzo's story would be great. While the guys are like Governor Rendell, he was a district attorney. Frank Rizzo, I remember I was one of the kitchen
who
cabinet.
would play Frank Rizzo?
They're still alive.
What actor out there is big enough to play Frank Rizzo? I don't know. John Wayne's dead.
Sal
so I don't know.
Palantonio wrote the book.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly.
Right. And so you got a lot of police officers that worked with him. They're still alive or still around. If they go to California to make the film, everybody has to go out there. They got them right here. So I'm going to,
that'd be a great
twist the arm,
starting point. If you need a big mouth talk radio host to interview
right,
that, I can play the big mouth talk radio host.
Okay, I'll be calling on you.
Okay.
When they start getting going. Okay, now, on October the 23rd, at Frank Rizzo's statue. Okay,
right in front of Municipal Services, right?
Right. That's right near City Hall, right around there. And so you're going to MC the thing. Tell me a couple stories about Frank Rizzo, you know.
Well, the one that I remember the most personal is when he beat Castile the last time around, the last go-round, and I was on the air and had one of the first interviews.
He's a Supreme Court justice.
Yes, and he beat him for the Republican nomination in an unbelievable battle. He had no voice, and I just remember him calling me Pow and trying to get a voice out over the air. Also, I remember Rizzo, just some of the quotes over the years, Hank, when he would say to reporters, he was a cop at Broad and Erie, put your watch on that light right there, come back in an hour, that watch is going to be there.
Right.
I remember a guy telling me, I was friendly with a guy in Baltimore, that Rizzo was on the front page of the Baltimore Sun and Baltimore papers, 3 straight weeks. On the front page, he was that famous nationwide because of all the stuff that was going on here in Philadelphia. I remember all the things he got blamed for that he had nothing to do with. Like people still say, he brought the horses and dogs out onto the field. After the 1980 World Series, Green was the mayor.
Right, he wasn't the mayor.
He wasn't the mayor. They're nationalists saying Frank Rizzo put the dogs and the horses out.
He sent the horse, he wasn't even mayor.
He would have, and he would have marched out there. My father was with him when the egg throwing happened at the Tasker Project, and Rizzo came from an event with the cummerbund on and the tuxedo and stuck the nightstick in. Now, we're never going to see a guy like this again, Hank, that's out there in the center of the action as this guy was.
I remember there was a sign on the billboard on the expressway down near in Philadelphia, and it says, "Frank, we all felt safer when you were alive."
Absolutely. He had the feeling that everything.
Feel confident, you know.
Hank, I saw him walk when he'd go out to dinner. It was around 9th Street. I saw this once, and he must have gone 3/4 of a block. It took a half hour because of the number of people that came out.
Right.
And in Sal Palantonio's book, there's a story. He goes to Absecon, New Jersey to get with this old cop who had something against Castile, about Castile allegedly waving a gun.
Right.
The town learns that Rizzo's there. 300 people turn out, and they're bringing cakes. Absecon, New Jersey.
Right.
Just that he was upstairs with the guy. That's the appeal. I've never seen a bigger-than-life figure than this guy in any way, shape,
He would
or
call
form.
me and say, "Hey, Cisco, I'm going to be campaigning. You want to come along?" I said, "All right, I would go down, you know."
Right.
Well, we go in the building, and if he would be on the first floor, somebody would say, "Rizzo's on the first floor," and everybody would come down. It was like, there was only... In my experience as a former boxer, I was refereeing a fight in the Philadelphia arena, and all of a sudden, two guys were posing, you know, and all of a sudden they hear the roar of the crowd. I thought, oh, there might be a fight in the crowd, you know.
Right.
And who comes walking? Muhammad Ali, you know. He could stir. He could walk into the room.
Right.
And
it was
stir.
like that. That's a
I
great
escorted
example.
Kennedy when he was running for president in Norristown. And the people crowd, they want to touch him. You know. There's certain charisma certain people have.
Well, here's the funny story. Frank Jr. tells this too, and I'm not sure what was said, but picture this during the bicentennial. Queen Elizabeth getting in a limo with Frank Rizzo.
Yeah.
Prince Philip is in with Carmela, his wife, and the other. Now, Frank Rizzo and the Queen of England, only in America, only in Philadelphia are you going to get that type of thing. I'd love to have a tape of Frank Rizzo talking, "Queen,
Yeah.
look how safe it is going downtown Philadelphia."
You know, I'm very close with the family. In fact, I was, like I said, I was a pallbearer, but Carmela, I'm at the house maybe once or twice a month or so. Used to go to we'd go to the casino or so with her sister, with Gus and Eva, you know, her sister and brother-in-law, and you know, real friends. And they always say, "You're family," because he took a liking to me when I was a policeman, and I took a liking to him because one day I used to have a pearl-handled gun, and he had one, you know. And there was an article in the paper about the Cisco kid in Norristown. Well, he called me up, "What is a Cisco kid?" You know, and that's we got. So I went down, and ever since we've been friends. You know.
And you know what his genius was that a lot of politicians don't see today? The little things. He couldn't stand it if trash wasn't picked up, if the streets weren't cleaned, if the construction wasn't done. Sweating the little things. You do those basic services, the little things, and present them in the right way, and people are going to be happy. They're not going to complain about taxes and everything else as much because you're delivering something. That's what he was really all about more than anything.
I remember when he was running, he says, "Cisco," he says, "I'm running for mayor in Philly. You run for mayor in Norristown." He says, "And we'll be together, okay?"
Right.
And he says, "Look, if you're going to run for mayor in Norristown, you want to tell the people you're going to keep it safe and you're going to keep it clean."
Yep.
And I'm telling you, and that's the way it was with him. You know, his shoes were always shine. He was always dressed immaculate. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Oh, he stepped out of a
Spick and
movie.
span.
I mean, it's a shame that there are generations that don't know fully what we're talking about. But once you see some of this stuff and you read about it, you're going to say, did this guy actually say that when he was mayor of Philadelphia? Did he actually say that I could take the Philadelphia police force, which I think was around 8,000 then, we could conquer Cuba, and then we were going to over and get the Red Brigades all in a day?
Well, you know, it made me feel safe to say,
well, and I thought, too, and we'll solve unsolved murders, too, at the time that we're at it, yeah.
But, all right, tell me something about your family now.
Well, I have a wife who is a teacher. That's how I met her. We're both teachers. I'm a former teacher. She teaches pre-K in Germantown. I have two sons.
What?
Pre-K, the little guys, pre-kindergarten.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just a brilliant teacher who's been acknowledged for all that. And then we have two sons, one of whom is somebody who's done talk radio with me. He's now 23. The other is 18.
He's on the talk show?
Well, he's done it with me over the years, a lot.
Oh,
he's a natural. He gets it from watching it and doing it all the time. And the other is on a full scholarship at LaSalle University now, who I think wants to go into journalism because he thinks in talk radio we make too much stuff up.
Well, why don't he write a column once in a while?
Yeah, I'll have to.
A sort of,
yeah.
You know, my dad's my dad.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. So it's been, and my greatest thing with them is growing up with them, sports, things connected with sports and all the things that we've done around that, all the things that we shared around that.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun now seeing them as pre-grown-ups, the traits and the qualities they exhibit.
I'm going to get personal with you.
Sure.
What's your favorite Italian dish?
Manigat.
Huh?
Manigot.
Manigot.
Yeah, Manigot.
Manigot.
Yeah, Manigot
See
to
that?
me, yes.
What
I
do you
butchered a
put
little
says?
bit.
What do you
Yeah,
put
Versailles,
says?
yeah. Manigotti, yes.
Manigotti.
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 Bring
right.
some out here
And
right
that's,
now.
that's with the cottage cheese.
Yes.
You know, the mani means fingers. You know, fingers
I didn't know
or hand.
that. Okay.
Right. See now.
What's yours, Hank?
All of them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's-
Lasagna, bacalao, everything, right?
Oh, the
Everybody's
bacalao.
all-
We have a lot. The 7 fishes. We do whole shows on the 7 fishes,
yeah.
a piece of
I-
it.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
Joe Bag of Donuts come
Yeah.
on to do that, the guy in South
yeah?
Philly. So, yeah, it's a tradition.
That's a tradition, isn't it? That's, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You
We talk
do-
about it all the time.
You get fish, shrimp, calamari,
the squid.
squid,
Yeah.
and the long fish that we fry. We put flour. We fry them.
I don't know. Some
Smelt.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
Italians put flounder in there and all.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
bacalao is kind of nasty.
Yeah,
though,
no,
Hank.
no.
A little bit nasty.
My mom never did bacalao.
Yeah,
for
a little
some reason.
nasty. Got to
There's a lot of
substitute that.
others. you
Yeah.
know. And all right, now it's sports.
Yes.
Eagles. Give me a prediction. Eagles. What are they going to do?
I think the Eagles will be. You mean over the course of the whole year? Yeah, I think they'll be relatively decent. I think they'll be 9-7, possibly 10-6. I don't think they're as horrible as they're exhibiting right now. And I think the Phillies have had a pretty decent season. We were a little
Today they re-signed
Charlie
Matt.
Manuel.
Is that a
Yeah.
good deal? You think? Is it a good man?
Yeah, well, as far as strategy, he needs some help. But as far as in the clubhouse, which with modern
Keep
ball
'em-
players,
keep 'em happy,
yeah,
you know.
he's a pretty good thing. Never publicly criticizes him, takes him aside behind the scenes, and does all that. But the Eagles should be decent year. The Phillies, though, with a couple moves here and there, could be really good next year.
I want you back. Okay.
Anytime.
And we're going to work on that their little thing here.
Yeah,
the
and
political
this
thing.
is a really important race out here in Montgomery
there we
County.
go
So we'd love
here.
to do that.
Allah Zalud, mean you to your health. Everybody, thank you very much.
Mana
And,
goat.